Okay, Paula, do you want to share screen? Okay, so we're really excited to share our flagship presentation with you guys. This is our Introduction to Ecobricks course. Oh, go back one slide. We'll just keep it the beginning, Paula.
Sorry.
This is our Introduction to Ecobricks. We're going to walk with you through the origin story of plastic, what it is exactly, and why it's dangerous. And that will give us our context for ecobricking and why ecobricking is a plastic transition, plastic sequestration solution. So, yeah, again, we'll have interactive slides during this presentation, and we look forward to your feedback. So this is interactive. We've got a bit too many people for audio interaction. So when we ask questions, we invite you to use the chat to put your answers down, and then Paula and I can read them out loud, and we can get contacts and answers from around the world this way. Okay, all right, over to you, Paula.
When we save, segregate, and pack plastic into bottles, we can make building blocks that can be reused over and over again. Together, we can build green spaces that enrich our community and safely secure plastic out of the biosphere. Together, we can sequester our plastic and transition to evergreen harmony with Earth's cycles.
Plastic, the modern material that all of us use every day that pervades our lives. Let's talk about it. Let's talk specifically about when we use it. Let's get some actual examples from you guys of when you use plastic. So, for example, I'm using plastic right now for my headphone speakers. The cable is vinyl, I believe. It's a type of plastic. Um, this morning I used a plastic toothbrush. Let's get some examples from you. When do you use plastic? Just throw it in the chat there. Packaging for sterile meta equipment. Yeah, good. Food packaging, clothing. Yeah, the polyesters that make up our clothing aren't natural. Takeaway. Yeah.
Yeah, I have an example also, my glasses.
Yeah.
The shape of it is made of plastic too.
Video game packaging. Nice, Joe.
Mm.
Good to have you, Joe. Thanks for joining. Of course. Okay. It's everywhere. It's everywhere around us. It's hard to get away from. Next, Paula.
Mhm. So why we use plastic? We use it in our daily life, as we've seen, but why do we use plastic? What do you think?
Yeah. So what is it about plastic that makes it good for video game packaging? Why are more pens made from plastic than from wood? Yeah, I know these questions might sound pretty basic, but they're important. So we got durable, we got free, cheap, great one, easy, widely available, easily moldable, light. Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's see if you can get. There's one other important one, and if you look at the slide is hinting very strongly at what that could be. Waterproof, that's a good one. Yeah. Durable. Yeah. Colorful. So plastics make colors very easily, right? Imagine wood and organic materials. It's hard to make cyan number 235 precisely in that shade of blue that you need, right? So the fact that it's colorful um, is one of the great aspects of plastic, especially for marketers. Okay, let's keep going. Paula?
Yeah, so we use it, it's everywhere. It's, as you said, it's a special and unique material, but what is plastic? What is it made of? What do you think? Which kind of material? Oh, Russell, unmuted. Oh,
If anyone wants to jump in with an audio explanation, let's open this one up because this is the most interesting question. If anyone has an answer to this, what is plastic? Franklin, you want to try? You want to try unmute? Or Robin, we got Robin. Go ahead.
Yeah, my understanding is it's carbon. It's the byproduct from creating oil. So it's everything the oil industry throws away. That's why plastic's just taken off.
Great, great. Okay, good. Franklin?
I get it is coming from a petroleum gas material.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Jess, see how she remembers the presentation of the course.
Oh, put me on the spot. I was going to say the same thing, that it's made from oil, so I don't have any other uh, wise words.
Okay, okay, good, good. Anyone else want to give it a shot before we keep going? Yeah, how about Israel? Let's go to Israel because he's an environmental science student. See what his answer is. Israel, if you want to try unmuting, sorry to put you on the spot, but
Uh, yeah, excuse me. I think my network is a bit unstable. Can I just get the question again?
what do you think plastic is? What is plastic made from? Where does it come from?
Last time I remember, I think it's made from polymer materials. Yeah, from a physical context, physical sense
Okay.
context.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. All right. Let's keep going. Paula, next slide. All right. You guys are all correct. All those answers are one aspect of the multifaceted thing that plastic is. So let's go way, way back. 5 billion years ago, the Earth swirled together in a spiral of cosmic dust in our early solar system, and a barren, desolate planet formed. When the Earth first formed, 4 billion years ago, the atmosphere was filled with carbon dioxide. And because of that, the climate was unstable and it was hot. 3 billion years ago, life begins to emerge. Life figures out how to take that carbon dioxide and build bodies, build leaves, build stalks, builds dinosaurs out of it. So it takes the carbon out of the atmosphere and concentrates into living organisms. Those living organisms live and they die. And as they die, especially in the ocean, they float to the bottom and are covered by more and more generations as more and more organisms live and die. And their carbon was compacted into reserves that were buried deep underground. So all that carbon from the atmosphere is slow and steadily compacted underground. Okay, next, Paula. By concentrating, compacting, and securing all this carbon, Earth removes CO2 out of the air, the climate stabilized, and our planet greened. So this was the greening, enriching process of planet Earth. Today, we've discovered that these carbon deposits are a valuable energy resource. Today, we extract this compacted carbon and we make what we call fossil fuels. All right, next, Paula. Of course, when Earth was compacting dinosaurs and algae and ancient rainforests under the ground, it wasn't thinking of making shell gasoline or it wasn't thinking of making fuels. It was compacting carbon and enriching the biosphere. In order for us to make fuels, we must refine that petroleum first. So just as Robin pointed out, in the process of making these fuels, gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, there's sludge that's left over. Depends on where the petroleum comes from, what the percentage is. It ranges from 4 to 14%. There's a technical term for it called naphtha. And you can type that in the chat, how you spell it. It's a little tricky. That naphtha is perfect for making polymers. As Israel pointed out, plastics come from polymers. Plastics are polymers. Next, Paula.
So, yeah, when fuels are used like for transport like cars, or if we're traveling with an airplane, the leftovers are going into the atmosphere like CO2. When we use plastic, different kinds of plastic, a bottle or a bag, where does our plastic goes? Write it in the chat. What do you think? Where does our plastic go after we use it?
Yeah. So for example, here in Indonesia, we have they're called pemulungs. They're recycling people who come around and they scavenge through discarded plastic, through your garbage can, in order to find plastics that are valuable. And they take them and then they get sent to a recycling city and plant and processed there. I'd like to hear from someone in Namibia about what happens to plastics in Namibia. Robin, maybe? Or Gundula? Robin, you want to unmute and try telling us where plastics go? In the chat, I see people are saying goes to the landfill, says Robin, then blows into the sea. Okay. Franklin, how about in Mindanao? What happens to the plastics? Oh, we got Robin.
Okay,
Go ahead, Robin.
I
Yeah.
can speak now for Namibia. Generally, it goes to the landfill,
Yeah,
and it's we don't like to admit it, but it is being burnt because there's burning happening on the landfills. And then there's a forum called Recycle Namibia Forum who say that they recycle 4 different kinds of plastic. Right now, however, there's no information that is filtered down to the residents who put their rubbish out as to which plastic that is, where it's going, and we don't separate it. They don't want us to separate it at this point. So apparently it's being recycled, but that is not entirely true.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Robin. Franklin, over to you.
in our country, plastics is everywhere, in the streets, in the canals, in every, there is really a big problem of plastic in our country. We are the third uh, consumer and producer and thrower of plastic.
Okay.
It's a great task and I think that's why the eco-bricking that I started in school, it has a big impact now.
Okay.
It gives awareness for many.
Thanks, Franklin. Thanks. Let's go to Jess and find out where plastics go in the US.
Some of it's recycled into other plastic products, but a lot of it ends up in the landfill, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jess. Let's keep going, Paula. All right. So in the world today, there are 3 main routes that plastic takes. The first is it gets burnt. Fancy word, incineration. The second is it gets dumped. Fancy word, engineered sanitary landfill. In Indonesia, TPS. We've got there's technical terms for it, but essentially we're dumping it in what was once a field, what was once a forest is now a dump. Number 3 is into the rivers, into the streams, which inevitably end up into the ocean.
And there's actually another one. It's recycling. Here you see this symbol that you all might know as a recycle symbol that gives an impression of circulation. Let's have a look on that. Is industrial plastic recycling circular? What do you think? You see here the picture. What do you think? Is it really circular?
We got no from Jess. Let's hear from Israel, environmental science student. What do you think? No end of life is always microplastic, downcycling. Okay. All right. Yeah, go ahead, Israel.
From a Namibian perspective, I don't really agree with that. I'm not really sure. I don't have much information on that, but I disagree, I think.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. We got from Marianne, most of them are not. They have to go into a separate item, downcycling for most. Okay, all right, you guys are on top of it. Let's go to the next slide then. Indeed, there's a lot of skepticism these days about recycling, and for good reason. Back when I was growing up and living in Canada, I'm Canadian, recycling seemed to be the magic solution, and it was what everyone did, and it was a good thing. But more and more, we're finding out the dirty secrets behind recycling. So as you guys know, there are different grades of plastic, and these different grades have different prices and different qualities. When plastic is recycled, it's most often downcycled. So yeah, the plastic companies and the bottle companies like to talk about how they turn PET bottles into other PET bottles. But in fact, most of the time, that PET is downcycled into maybe HDPE. And then when that HDPE is collected, it's cycled into PE. And it goes to not necessarily the numbers. The numbers are a bit confusing and they don't really refer to the value, but the plastic goes down in value. Here in Indonesia, it's very obvious and very clear to see because the recyclers will go through a pile of plastic and they'll only take certain types. And even though the plastic bags have a value, they're not worth taking. And even though they'll take all the plastic bottles, the HDPE or the P bottles, but they'll leave the non-valuable ones. So this is the journey that plastic takes, is a slow downward spiral into less and less valued plastics that in the end gets discarded. It's just not worth picking it up. It's not worth putting it back on the conveyor belt. I worked for a while in a recycling plant in Canada, and I experienced this firsthand. We had a conveyor belt where we'd put all the plastic that was going to be sorted, and the plastic in the conveyor belt went through the whole system. But the stuff that fell off the conveyor belt, it just wasn't worth enough effort to even put that back on. We just sweep it into the landfill pile. And so that's kind of an analogy for the way that the recycling industry works and explains the phenomenon of why we have so much pollution in the world today, despite 20 years of promoting recycling. All right. If you have any questions, you can hold them for the end of the presentation. I know that brings up a lot of one. Okay, so we can see thus that industrial recycling just isn't a perfect circle. In fact, when we compare it to the way that ecosystems work, it's very clear that it's not circular, it's a spiral that takes the carbon and slowly spirals it outwards and scatters it into the ecosystem, the biome, and then the biosphere. This is in contrast to the way that the Earth works. So the Earth takes carbon and puts it into life, into ecosystems, into biomes, and in this process, the carbon gets concentrated into bodies that are made into more bodies, but eventually those live and die and those generations get buried and the carbon gets sequestered. Because of that, biodiversity flourishes.
In the end, every molecule of plastic that we consume spirals out into the biosphere.
But what is the biosphere exactly? So you've been hearing us use this word. You've probably heard others use the word biosphere. You will have noticed that we're carefully avoiding the word nature in this presentation. What does the word biosphere mean to you? The place that life exists. All right, nice, nice. Put your answers in the chat. Let's see what's just whatever comes off the top of your mind. Everything in the ecosystem. Jess, nice. In the circle of life. Okay. The livable atmosphere. Oh, that's a good one, Joe. Okay. I like that. Okay. everything natural around us, our planet and everything in it. Okay, thank you guys. If you're not done, you can keep putting them in. Let's go on to the next slide.
So what do you see here in this picture? You just can write it in the chat. Maybe you recognize some of the items. A stomach.
Right. Fishing lines, cups, PVC piping. I see like a
Yeah.
Coke bottle cap in there. You got a clamshell. Could be. No one's ever seen a clamshell before. Some sort of pet food container. Yeah. Plastic caps. Okay. All right. So we got an assortment of plastic.
Mm.
Paula?
So
All right. So this is a baby albatross. You guys might be familiar with this story and this picture. It's emblematic of the plastic pollution situation in the world today. The albatross, they live and nest on an island by the name of Midway. It's called Midway because it's midway in the Pacific Ocean. It's 2,000 kilometers away from any human habitation. The mother albatross likes to find colorful food on the beach and bring it back to its chicks. Nowadays, the colorful items on the beach tend to be pieces of plastic that have washed ashore. So it feeds it to the albatross chick, and of course, that clogs up its digestive system and it dies. So this is obviously a great tragedy, but it's also a reminder to us of the consequences of our plastic. That bottle cap could have been mine 20 years ago that I drank a Coke and maybe I put the bottle in the recycling or my parents did, who knows? And it's made its way to Midway Island and has had this consequence. Okay, next slide.
what do you see here? Do you have an idea what this is? In Germany, we have them as a surprise. It's kind of a plastic we use when we carry our cans. Yeah, exactly. Pop bottle packing, soda can holder, exactly. So you know them as well. And we use them just shortly until we carry our bottles or cans to the place we want to be. And then after, it will end up or will be land in the rubbish place. And then we are all part of this biosphere.
Now, some of these pictures may be familiar to you guys because they're making more and more of the rounds on social media. We show them here because they're a visceral reminder that our human world is inextricably connected with what we call the natural world. And in this, we're getting at what the biosphere is. The biosphere is us humans, but also all the other creatures that we share planet Earth with. Plastic can poison the biosphere, near and far, seen and unseen.
Remember you? Some of you mentioned already in the beginning when we met here, the smell of plastic burning. It's a really strong smell of it. I guess all of you had smelled this one time, hopefully just one time.
Yeah, Gandula, how does it smell? What can you describe the sensation of smelling plastic?
Okay, this is not a nice smell. And we have it quite regularly. As I said, I burn our landfill with all the plastic in it. Yeah, horrible.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Interesting enough, when we do this presentation in the UK, not everyone knows the smell of plastic burning. depends on the country. However, that automatic inner instinct that you have that it doesn't smell good is our bodies telling us that it is not good. It's not good for us. It's not healthy. And indeed, it's poisonous. So there are three main ways that plastic becomes poison: by burning, fancy word, incineration. Number two, the sun. And number three, heat. So let's take a look at each of these three different ways that plastic becomes poison. The first is, again, the incineration. So when plastic is heated up in a fire, the chemical molecules, the carbon molecules, the hydrogen molecules within it catalyze and form other molecules. And these molecules are not inert. They can disrupt biological systems. The most notorious are dioxins. So that happens when PVC, if you've got like the wire of my speakers here, if that burns, or pipe, if that burns, that forms dioxin, and those are terribly poisonous. But even if it isn't PVC, other chemicals are formed that we smell in the noxious smoke that results, and those can go back down into the earth through rain and precipitation. Now, also, CO2 is released. The carbon in the plastic with the heat combines with the oxygen in the atmosphere to form carbon dioxide, which was, as we all know, is one of the causes of climate change. Number two is a process called photodegradation. So perhaps you've seen a plastic bag on the side of the road that's been sitting there for a while. You will have noticed that it has begun to break apart. So when ultraviolet rays hit plastic, they start to degrade the molecular bonds. In particular, there's chemicals that are added to plastic to make it soft and pliant. This is why the soft and pliant plastics, like bags or bottles, are the first to break down, whereas PVC and the harder plastics, they don't degrade nearly as fast. And so as those softeners degrade, the plastic breaks into smaller and smaller pieces, which we call microplastics. All right, next slide. All right, so number three, when plastic heats up, chemical reactions also occur, and the plastic leaches molecules into the water. So if you've ever tasted water from a bottle sitting in a car over the course of a day, you probably noticed that it tastes differently. This is because molecules are leaching into the water. In particular, those phthalates, what they're called, this plastic softeners, they're called phthalates. Bisphenol A, you might have heard of these technical terms. Those are the softeners that are added in, and those are the first to leach out. So, for example, in Canada, you cannot buy baby bottles that are made with these softeners now because they are known to leach and they are known to be toxic. All right. So bisphenol A, phthalates, they are called estrogen emulators. Their molecular structure looks very similar to the human hormone of estrogen. And so when these molecules get within our bodies, it confuses our bodies as to how much hormones we have, whether or not we have balance of testosterone or estrogen. And because our body is confused, there ends up being imbalances. This can form cysts. This can lead to birth defects and even cancer. And alas, these molecules bioaccumulate in our bodies. And so they can be passed from mothers to the young.
So after we heard all these facts, maybe some new facts for you, maybe some known facts for you, what can we do? What else we can do? You can share it with us. Maybe you have already some ideas what you're doing in your daily life.
Nice. Jess says, try to consume less plastic. Great. Oh, Yeah. Anything else? What are you guys doing where you live? Divert our home
One of
plastics.
our
Yep.
teachers, one of our teachers started recently collecting plastic, and he melted it and he made like coasters for our coffee mugs. And now he made like a flat brick as for a pot holder. So our aim is actually to introduce the learners to recycling again, and then they have to collect plastic for this teacher, and then he can show actually in school how he does this. And last year we had also a project where we collected the milk, what is it, cartridges, sort of, yeah, milk, with the silver lining in, and we sewed it together, and we gave it to a lady, and she went to the shacks. I don't know if you're all familiar with how some people live, like in a tin, oh no, what's it, not tin, yeah, house, and it's very cold in Swakop. So we gave it to them to insulate the walls, and also a lot didn't have anything on the floors, and because it has this waxy layer, they could even wash it.
Okay.
And we collected also sweet paper in the classes for kind of ecobricks. And the one lady, she started building a whole room.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Gundula. I see we have some other good contributions in the chat here. Israel says, revert to traditional carrying equipments made from wood. Indeed, here in Indonesia, bamboo is one of the traditional materials, and bamboo is fantastic for making just about anything. We have calabash. Can you explain what calabash is, Israel?
Yo, it's kind of hard to explain it, but it's like a cup made from a certain wood material from a tree, which we usually use in the villages for drinking water. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Nice. All right. Okay, let's keep going.
So, as you already mentioned, consume less, of course. Less consuming, we have less plastic then. But of course, question your use of plastic. Then, as already mentioned as well, use organic materials. And then, last but not least, make ecobricks.
All right. Yes. So there's all those, there's a lot of other things we can do, first and foremost, to reduce our consumption, reduce what materials we use, finding other materials, experimenting with organic stuff, going back to traditional technologies. All of these are fantastic, important, and far more important than Ecobricks, really. But Ecobricks fundamentally are there as a solution for the plastics we don't know what to do with. And in this sense, Ecobricks are a plastic transition solution. And they're a solution because they embody ecological principles. They embody this spiral of carbon concentration that we see in Earth's example. So at the very beginning, we saw how Earth spiraled carbon into greater and greater concentration in order to green the planet, to support biodiversity, to reduce the atmospheric content of CO2, right? So we can do the same with our Ecobricks. We can concentrate this loose carbon, because that's what plastic is. We can concentrate it into a bottle, and then we can put it to use in a way that uses the carbon as a building block that is fully circular, but really the better word is spiral. So when we use it for earthen constructions, as we see, or modules, we can take it out of those construction when they come to their end, and we can use it again and again and again into the long term. And the long term is putting it into more and more permanent structures. So here in my house, you can see behind me, our shelves are made with Ecobricks. I've got a stool here I'll show you later that's made from Ecobricks. These are all short-term applications. When those come to its end, and we've had a couple modules and tables come to their end, then we take the Ecobricks out and we put them into garden benches. And then when the garden bench is done, and the coconut tree grows too big and it breaks the sides, then we take that out and we put it into a structure. And the structure, that lasts for a long, long time. And then 100 years from now, our great-grandchildren can take that structure apart and extract the plastic. By that time, maybe it's going to have more value than we know what to do with now, and put it to another use. Or it'll be sequestered long, long term. So learning from Earth. Oh, can you go back, Paula? I'll just sum that up because that's an important sentence. Learning from Earth, Ecobricks secure our carbon plastic out of the biosphere for the long term. Okay. And in this way, ecobricking done right is a form of plastic sequestration. Okay.
So now we come to the point to check how to make an ecobrick. Your first ecobrick is important because, as Russell said, if we're doing an ecobrick, it's going on a journey. And the first ecobrick will help you really to understand what is important and why are the steps we're going through so important to make a safe ecobrick for long term. So we start first of all with collecting the plastic. So you can use all kinds of plastic you're collecting to make it clean, make it dry. That's really important. Then after you collect your plastic, you will choose the plastic bottle. So there it's important that you check which brand of bottle you will use, because if you want to build something like a module, it's much more easy and help you to build smoother when you use the same shape and the same brand of bottles. So maybe you can check in your community which bottles are used there, that you are sure that you will have enough bottles for making your ecobricks. Then when you have chosen your brand, you can choose a color of a soft plastic to make it in the bottom color of your ecobrick. And like this, you can create really beautiful modules with beautiful colors, and also the buildings can be really colorful and make it more beautiful. Then you chose your favorite color for your ecobrick, and then you start cutting your clean and dry plastic. Cut it in small pieces, and you can pack this plastic into your bottle and use a bamboo or wood stick to squeeze the plastic pieces in the bottle.
Well, I'll just stop you there because
Yeah.
I do have an example. Over here in
Awesome.
Indonesia, we make these bamboo sticks. We have a special design called an earth wand that we make. So it's bamboo with a rattan handle on it. And we were selling them on ecobricks.org, but it's open source. So you guys, if you got wood or bamboo in Mindanao, Franklin, you're welcome to copy this and make your own. But anything works.
Right.
In the UK, they love to use wooden spoons for ecobricking.
Exactly. And as you squeeze with this stick in the bottle, it's important that you not pack metal or glass that can damage your bottle. And of course, be sure that you avoid packing food leftovers, because it will biodegrade in your bottle. And this is totally not what we want. Then it's also really important to keep a good or high quality that we can ensure with the weight to have a certain density that you can ensure to build safe with your Ecobricks. And therefore, we have a standard minimum that's 0.33 gram per milliliter. So if you're packing your Ecobrick, be sure that you have a weight beside you that you can check always the weight of your bottle and see how dense or more plastic you have to pack. Then finally, when you packed your Ecobrick, your bottle is full with plastic, you have the perfect weight, you can log your Ecobrick, you can log it on Gobrick. It's an app that is free and open source, and there you can share your Ecobrick with our community. It will be authenticated there, and you can connect there also with our international community. When you are in this logging process, you will get a serial number that will personalize your Ecobrick. You can inscribe the number and the weight with nail polish, oil painting, or simple with a permanent maker on your Ecobrick. Russell, you can show it again. It looks like.
Oh yeah, sure. We got Joe too. Joe, let's see that Ecobrick. Spotlight
nice.
Joe. Thanks, Joe, for showing that. I'll show mine. Mine's done with nail polish, I believe. So there's how it's done. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Joe.
Yes.
I use these for weightlifting sometimes.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. This is how it should look like. And then as you hopefully will make a module or even a bigger project, you have to store your Ecobricks. And there it's important that you store them horizontally, covered and off the ground with a bottom horizontally. And of course, no sunlight. It's good a dark place and a secure place.
Paula, maybe I'll just jump in here for the folks in Namibia because they're planning on larger projects. This is something that we've learned over the long term with many projects, guys, is that having a storage place set out and dedicated for the Ecobricks that are going to come in, especially when you start reaching out to schools, multiple schools, that you want to have them safe so that they're going to become valuable. People will want to take them and then resubmit them in for their homework or whatnot. And then they'll also be a target for rodents unless they're treated with carefully. So these are, and we've got more details on the website on how to store the Ecobricks.
Thank you.
All right. So once you've got your Ecobricks all stored up and your storage shack is full, you are ready to build. Ecobricks can build modules, gardens, and structures. Here again, we differentiate between short-term and long-term constructions. So right off the bat, it's great to put Ecobricks to use into modules, later on into structures. Next one. All right, so the easiest application are modules. I've got one here. Let's see if I can spotlight myself. This is the simplest kind. Maybe stop sharing for a second, Paula, and I can show you my module. Okay, so this is made with 12 Ecobricks, all the same brand, of course, and they've got a bottom color. So just like our Ecobrick logo, we can make fancy patterns with them that look good. Later on, if we have a hexagon module, this will fit inside the hexagon to make a two-layered structure, which is really handy for making tables.
Russell, I have also one here.
Okay, yeah. Okay, let me spotlight you, Paul.
Yeah, and here you see the different colors and yeah.
Oh, and look, we've got someone, Franklin. Oh my goodness, let's spotlight Franklin here. Hold on, remove spotlight. Can you guys see Franklin? Is that working?
Yes, we can see Franklin, but
Okay,
Franklin,
good.
can you
Yeah, my
with
screen
the
isn't
camera
refreshing,
to
so I can't see.
the table?
Oh, there we go. Okay, show again, Franklin, please.
is my table.
Holy moly, look at that. Wow.
Made up of swak 2. Bottle. Little bottle swak 2.
All right. Thank you, Franklin. Great, great. Well, that's bordering on a midterm. That's more than a short-term construction. That looks more permanent with the metal structure and everything. So yeah. Then from modules. Modules are great. They're a great starter project, right? And so we promote them because it gives folks an immediate goal that they can work towards. All you need is 12 different Ecobricks, and you can put together something useful. And people love these little modules, especially here in Indonesia. People love to make them and have them for little chairs. And again, that triangle module fits into the hexagon module to make it 2 levels. We have a third type of module called the Demon Lego module, which is just like Lego. You can connect these horizontally and you can connect them vertically to stack up and make walls and curved structures and stages and all sorts of things. So this modular approach gives you, if you're starting a big project, guys, in Namibia, it gives you a goal for the first 2,000 to 3,000 Ecobricks. If you can get 3,000 Ecobricks of all the same kind, you can make a whole bunch of modules, and then you assemble them together to make, here in Indonesia, we have open spaces where they're called open spaces because they're these interactive spaces made from the modules for cafes or for installations in public spots or festivals. People can just arrange the modules to build and make whatever they need in the moment. So that's very handy and very cool. Next. All right, so a module, like you saw Franklin's were still nice and colorful. This module that I've got has been kicking around for 5 or 6 years. It's becoming a bit faded now. The bottle caps are getting a little cracked. It's almost time, not quite for that one, but it's almost time to take it apart and put its Ecobricks to their next use. And then again, that's the great thing about Ecobrick construction, is that we do this in a way that the constructions can be destroyed and completely put back into use. We use silicone to make the Ecobrick modules. So silicone you can find at any hardware store around the world for hardly anything. Silicone isn't plastic. It's silicone and oxygen that make that would use for windows or for bathtubs. It also happens to be great for joining PET bottles. And so here in Indonesia, it's just a couple dollars for silicone tubes. In Philippines also, I bought them for next to nothing, and anyone can do it. We teach high school students how to make modules with silicone. And then, right, when those come to their end, we take them out and we put them into earth constructions. Earth and Ecobrick building is by far the best and the most exciting way to build with Ecobricks, because you can build all sorts of great stuff. Cob, organic cements, or in other countries it's called adobe, wattle and daub. This is fantastic for building all sorts of organic, beautiful structures. It's often just a matter of looking back at ancestral traditions where you live to see how earth has been used to build with in the past, and then apply that with Ecobricks. And so when we build with cob, we encase the Ecobricks completely inside the construction. In this house you see on the slide, the Ecobricks are showing, but that's not necessary and not ideal. If they're completely covered and completely encased, then we're protecting the plastic from all the forms of degradation that we talked about earlier. They're insulated from heat. They're insulated from fire. I think Robin and her colleagues did a test burning a cob wall with Ecobricks inside it. I've seen pictures of this experiment on Facebook. The cob wall was completely on fire. The fire department was there to put it out. It was a test, so they did this on purpose. And at the end, they were able to take the Ecobricks out and use them again because they were completely protected. Protected from sun, protected from oxygen even and microorganisms. So nothing gets at it. And just like the carbon that the Earth compacted deep underground, we can sequester our plastic in the same way. Here's a whole bunch of examples from around the world of different applications. So this is great. You see some of the open spaces that we're talking about. Far right top corner, there's some Ecobrick modules around the table. You see them stacked on top of each other. That's the way you can stack the triangle and the hexagon modules. On the far right in the middle, we see Lucy's installation of Dielman modules and different type of modules at a festival in the UK, and everyone's playing with them. There's your son Robbie, who I think is in our meeting today. Hey, Robbie, that's you. So there's Robbie. He's the UK Ecobrick module expert. He assembled many of those. We've got a guy from South Africa. I don't know where that photo came from, but that photo has been famous with the couch. We've got a stage there at the bottom made with the Dielman modules at the bottom. So the people playing the fake guitars there, that's on hexagon modules that are assembled to make a surface. And then behind that, you see all the Lego that's stacked. Those are each individual, well, they're individual Ecobricks combined into a Dielman module that's stacked up like that. And then it can all be taken apart in 60 seconds. What else? We've got cob building going on, bottom right corner. That's me in the blue shirt cut off on the left-hand side, putting glass bottles and Ecobricks together in Bali. We've got a Food Forest Play Park. That's in Java, Indonesia, at the top of the screen. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, there's all sorts of things we can do. Oh, there's Lucy and there's Robbie again in the center of the picture. Maybe that's with Annie too. Look at that. So a lot of good photos there. There's a lot more on our website, on our Instagram that you can see. Go ahead, Paula. Oh, you're muted, Paula.
Yes, yes. You can learn much more about Ecobricks on our website. It's really full of resources, reports, and you can learn so much more because here in this presentation, we don't have the time to go deeper. So have a look. And also there is a beautiful newsletter we have, Earthen newsletter. You can sign up for it to keep in touch, to get all the news, what's going on. And you can also find on the website.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of our presentation and hopefully the beginning of your journey with Ecobricks, or in some cases, the continuation of it. Franklin, looks like you've been Ecobricking for a while there. Yeah, thank you.
So by following Earth example, we can sequester our plastic and transition into ever greener harmony with the cycles of life.
All right. Great. Thanks, Paula. All right. So I realize that our presentation touched on a lot of topics. We are going to open up the floor now for questions. So you're welcome to use the hand feature where you raise your hand, and then we can spotlight you and you can ask your questions. Or if you want, you can put it in the chat too, and Paula and I, or perhaps Annie or Lucy or Robbie too, can try giving it a shot. Jess asks, how do you authenticate Ecobricks on GoBrick? Oh, okay, well, I can answer that. At the moment, you can't. Authentication was a system that we developed with our first version of GoBrick. Our first version of GoBrick used some corporate platforms that made it really easy to build up the app quickly. But alas, we got stuck using Amazon services and things like that. And our GA Center Circle made the executive decision to ditch the corporate platform and instead reverts GoBrick to a very basic version that we had developed completely on our own and completely open source. So we're back. We've downgraded Gobrick. You often hear about apps upgrading and getting better and better. Well, we got simpler, a lot simpler. But because of that, we're free of corporate services, databases, servers, whatnot, and we're developing on our own, which actually is a lot better. And we have that in our roadmap to reinstall the authentication system. And so the authentication system is where Ecobricks are logged and then they're peer reviewed on Gobrick so that we can validate via feedback from impartial observers whether or not an Ecobrick has been done right or not. So we take a look at the validators look at an Ecobrick and they say, whoa, look, there's something wrong with the cap here. There's dirty plastic in it. It doesn't look like the right density. And they say it's not, they can evaluate that it's not good. Or they might be like, yeah, look, the serial number's there. There's a bottom color. Ecobrick looks good. They gives it a thumbs up. If three validators come to the same conclusion, then the Ecobrick is authenticated. We'll get back to doing that. At the moment, logging your Ecobrick is 100% available. So we encourage folks to do that. And we have a queue now. We have a queue of Ecobricks pending validation, pending authentication. So Robin is asking from Gobrick when you log it. Yes, the serial number comes from the logging process. So you take a photo. Oh, wait, you don't take a photo. You enter the basic data of your Ecobrick, you submit that, and then you're given a serial number that you can paint on your Ecobrick, take the photo, and upload the photo. And that serial number helps us to authenticate the brick. It also helps us to create a record. So part of our development plan is to make this database of Ecobricks accessible for the next 100 years. Future generations finding an Ecobrick will then be able to key in the serial number and find the data about who made it, when it was made, where the plastic came from, what community did it, etc. So we'll have data on all the bricks. All right. Anyone want to unmute and ask a question?
Robin. Yeah, Robin, you can just unmute yourself.
I just want to mention for the Namibians who are with us here, and I'd like to just tell you, Russell and Paula, that Nelau, my colleague, has joined us. She just can't seem to get her screen working, so she can hear us, and she has been chatting, which is really nice. So it's Nelau, so she's on board. I just want to mention that I was the recipient of the bricks that came from a school in South Africa in 2016, Sterling Primary School. So Gundula, just to let you know, this particular school have continued with their eco-bricking, and they were aiming at zero output from their school. And I just want to reassure you that ecobricks are the most amazing tool for creating awareness, in that in the beginning, the number of bricks they collected was enormous, but they started getting less and less and less and less. And that was from how individuals had changed their perception on the eco-bricking. And I think that's a fantastic thing. So we're not trying to make as many eco-bricks as possible. We're aiming at having fewer eco-bricks, really, because we've changed our perceptions of the eco-brick themselves and of the plastic use. So I quite like that idea. So we're not trying to get as many as we can. We're trying to spread awareness so that there are not a lot, but what we do get are useful.
Thank you, Robin. That's a great point. I'll just add that and affirm that. This presentation is a great example of the consciousness raising potential of Ecobricks. So plastic is an issue that perturbs a lot of people. It's an entry point to curiosity and the struggle to find solutions. However, our observation is that the solutions to our ecological issues are not technological. It's not about technology. If anything, technology is causing more problems than it solves because the fundamental awareness of our interconnection to the living world around us, being aware of that is much more important. Being aware simply that plastic is poisonous. So we focus first and foremost in this presentation about what plastic is, where it comes from, and why it's dangerous, because not many people know about the dangers of plastic. And so having that articulated is a valuable and eye-opening exercise for many folks. Okay.
Hey, Russ, there is a question from Franklin about using the cement for the building.
Okay. Thank you, Franklin. Good question. So I began building in the Philippines using cement. And at first we were able to make some great stuff, or it looked really great. We would use the Coke bottles, the 1.5 liter Coke bottles in the Philippines to build snake playgrounds. So laying the Ecobricks out horizontally and building a snaking structure for the kids to play on. And we did that with cement. However, early on, we realized that we'd kind of made a mistake with the cement, with the snake spiral, snake curve. And so the next day, I went out with the guys and we got some cement bars and we decided, okay, well, just break this little part of the snake. We'll get the Ecobricks out and we'll do it again. So we tried to get the Ecobricks out and it was impossible. It's impossible to extricate Ecobricks from cement. Cement dries and it's sharp and it's ripping to PET. When you try to get plastic out of cement, it's impossible. It'll just rip the bottle, and of course, all the plastic gets out, and you have a disaster. So it contravenes our fundamental principle of using the bottles over and over again, of making the structure circular or spiral, being able to use the materials, the Ecobricks over and over again. And so that was a big wake up that cement and plastic bottles, Ecobricks, they don't go together. I mean, you can do it, but your grandchildren are going to be cursing you one day when they go to take apart whatever you built, because they just won't be able to get, it's going to make a tremendous mess and no one's going to know what to do with it. So rather than piss off our grandchildren, we can use cob and adobe organic cement, mixing local clay with sand and straw to make an organic cement that, unlike cement, crumbles when it breaks and is soft and doesn't destroy the plastic bottles. Okay. Robin says there's no clay or cob there. Okay. Well, I have a lot of building experience in different countries, and we've always been able to find clay of some sorts for construction. So I would challenge you there, Robin. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it truly is like, I guess in the Sahara Desert, it would be hard to build with cob. But I would think that you would be able to find some clay somewhere that could be used for it.
I'd just like to mention the cob. My passion is cob building.
Oh, okay.
But having come from South Africa, where it was easily available, literally wherever you looked, I have experimented with what I was told was clay here in the Swakopmund River. I was given a lovely big pile of it and got very excited, only to do the tests and discover that what I thought was 100% clay is in fact 100% silt. So
man.
I am experimenting right now, and we've got a pretty good mix that stood up to very heavy rains. So with the little Namibian team that might be interested, we're continuing where we are with experimenting, because yes, it's the first prize. But I have a little bit of experience with building where people tend to think, oh, well, you're building with Ecobricks and cob, so you don't need plans for your building. And then they end up building buildings that are not legitimate, that have not been passed by building inspectors and engineers. And I feel very strongly about that need for the building to actually have a plan. And that is why I just mentioned the cement, because if we plan a building where the longevity of the building is planned and the future of the building is planned, then I'm hopeful that by utilizing cement where it's applicable, that we can prevent having to put a doorway and cut through later, or raised garden beds. If you look at the next point there, our friend Nalau is saying, we in Namibia, we want to start with showing people how to do raised garden beds. You know, we live in Namibia where the desert bordered by the ocean, and we want to encourage food security. And we may be able to use wood very successfully, but I'm telling you that in Swakopmund there is no mud of any description. It's just not possible. And the reality of people going off somewhere into the inland to bring clay back, that is not going to happen. So this Namibian project is going to be quite a challenge in terms of what we build. So I can imagine wood, yes, it's not going to break down very quickly. We could use pallets. But I do think that our leaning towards some cement might be necessary. And if I can combine that with really well-planned structures, like maybe at a school, it could be the school name on what would normally be a big cement block. If that's not going to move up anywhere until the centenary of the school and beyond, then I'd challenge that there are places where cement could be useful.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It's always interesting, the challenges around the world to put Ecobricks to use. We use Ecobricks with cement for the foundation. But that said, when we do it, we're strategic about it. So when laying the foundation for a playground bench, some people don't use cement. I know Lucy's in this chat, and she tries her best to use just stones for the foundation where she's at. But some places where there's a lot of rain, it's important to have about 10 centimeters of a cement foundation. And so we put the Ecobricks in halfway into the cement so that it's still possible to pull them out later. So by planning ahead of time, it's all about planning and thinking of circularity, of reuse. With that intention, it's possible to do just about anything in a green way. Okay, Annie's got her hand up. Over to you, Annie.
Maybe different case from Namibia, but it's also the question about when people hear about clay, they imagine it's like beautiful clay for pottery, and then so even in Indonesia in the beginning they say it's like, oh no, it's impossible, it's expensive, we don't have it here, and then we experiment in any kind of soil that they have in every area, and then yeah, it's not always good, but it's maybe it's not for Namibia, but the information is for everywhere, including Franklin. So it's not that type of has to be that type of clay that is like a red clay beautiful, but it's basically even the paddy field. We use a lot of soil for the paddy field, or just anywhere, but it's not on the surface, because on the surface always it was lots of silt and a sandy. And that's it. And Russ, I think somehow we still use cement, but using for the outer
Yeah,
layer.
sometimes, yeah, it
So
can be.
that's what
Yeah.
we do lots in Indonesia or around here. It's like, okay, we use cement for the foundation, and then we use pure soil. So they don't even say clay, because they keep saying, no, this is not clay, but okay, let's make it with soil and with straw and some sand, and mix, soil test and everything, and we found the right portion, and then it's all with a earth. But then because the rain here is just so heavy, so of course we put the cement for the outer layer. And some places it's very very thin, some other places a little bit thicker, so somehow it looks really cement and it's indeed cemented, but it's only in the outer, but the inside is still earth. And then when we try to disassemble, we dig a little bit and then we try to take the eco bricks out, that is still possible. So there's just, I don't know, additional information around
Okay,
that.
thanks, Annie. Yeah, so this is why we encourage the garden beds rather than structures too, because you can build with not so good cob, not structural quality cob, and you can build a garden bed, and because it's not going to collapse and cause catastrophic damage, it's okay. It will do the job of sequestering and holding the plastic in. Now we've got a good question here from Nilayo about plastic degrading and releasing and leaking, seeping into the soil or the ground. Won't that affect the vegetables? So that's a great question, Naleo. We've done tons of research on this, on what happens when you cover Ecobricks with earth, with cob. I don't know if you caught the beginning of the presentation. At the beginning of the presentation, we talked about the ways that plastic degrades. So plastic degrades with heat, friction, fire, of course, oxygen exposure can degrade plastic. Microorganisms can degrade plastic. Have to be careful with the silt. If it's very organic ground, there's research that shows that microorganisms will actually get in and start degrading the plastic. However, if you're using inert cob that doesn't allow oxygen, water, fire, or any friction, of course, because it's set in there, there's no degradation. There's no degradation path for the plastic. And again, we've researched this extensively. There's all sorts of different studies on what happens to plastic when it's buried. Nothing happens. It's like that carbon that the earth put under the ground 100 million years ago, and it's still carbon. It's safely secured under the ground. So that's the example. That's Earth's example that we're following with this in order to manage our carbon carefully. Okay. Any more questions while you've got us here? We've got another 12 minutes or so in the presentation, 10 minutes, I guess. I see we have Oris from Indonesia here, from Jogja. Oris, did you have any questions for us about the Earth's example and the parallels with plastic?
Hello, hello. I think no, no, not right now. Maybe I can ask you later when we meet
No,
because
go
I'm
ahead.
still thinking about it. Sorry.
No, take a moment. We still got 10 minutes if you want to compose your question. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Paula, do you want to add anything here? I've been talking a lot. To any of the things that have been brought up?
No, I think the earth building is I think the hard part to put the hands on, and if you're working on it, it will be easier. So I was just wondering if we could add a little bit on that in the follow-up this week, if this is a topic
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. Are you guys
that
interested
would
to learn about
motivate each
cob?
other.
Yeah, sure. Lucy has her hand raised.
Hi, yeah, I just thought I would share a little bit of our experience because it's very easy to think we don't need to get people to log their ecobricks and that we would just put call outs for everyone to make ecobricks for this project. And I would say certainly here in the UK, when everything went viral and we had a huge amount of ecobricks being made and it was the thing that everybody thought that they could do, they didn't understand the principles. They all rushed in and the idea just got run with. And the amount of really poor ecobricks that we received was phenomenal. It was because people, A, hadn't understood why they were doing this and the fact that it was meant to be a tool to reduce their plastic they didn't understand that because there'd been no conversation about it. So it's really important to have conversations with people, not just ask for them. And secondly, there was this rush that they were going to do good with their plastic. And the thought of actually logging and making a good eco-brick just escaped them. And we have about 12,000 eco-bricks in storage waiting for the opportunity to build with them, which isn't easy here in the UK. And I would say at least half of them are not suitable for using in construction projects of any sort, be they modules or a cob construction. So I would always recommend do get people to go through that logging process. It's so much easier than it used to be, and it just will save you so much heartache because you will have Ecobricks of a standard that you're going to be able to utilize and not have to just take care of for years. Just my input.
Thank you, Lucy. Yeah, the experience out of the UK is one of the reasons we developed the GoBrick app to authenticate Ecobricks, because we had such enthusiasm coming out of the UK, people wanting to deal with their plastic responsibly and put it to good use and to not be polluting. And so they started making Ecobricks without any guidance, and it ended up being more harm than good in the end. And so that's why we developed this way for people to log, get feedback right away, and learn through the feedback about how to make a good, solid Ecobrick that sequesters plastic.
And finding random web pages on our website that they weren't supposed to access.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And yeah, that's part of the technical story of Ecobricks. Our website crashed because too many people were accessing it from the UK at a certain point when Ecobricks went viral, and they couldn't get the right information. This is Joe, who's on our dev team. Everyone, he's one of the guys developing the sites in the back end. Okay, Robin, over to you.
I want to be realistic about the Ecobricks. I've found that not everybody wants to make them. So they like the idea, but they don't want to make them. And what I'd like to see is getting people aware of the plastic by, I mean, I even look now and I 100% agree and I understand. I mean, I've said there, a badly packed Ecobrick is also a fire hazard. We've got to be very careful about that. We have a lot of fires in our townships here where the buildings aren't normal buildings. They're just little shacks. And there are numerous fires. I would be horrified to think that anything that we'd suggested people build there, even if it's just a raised garden bed, if it's not packed correctly, yes, it's going to off-gas horrifically. However, there are people in this country that are sending their plastic to the cement making factories in the center of our country. Gundala in the Okahanya area, no, Ochivarongo area, the cement factories use plastic to heat the making of the cement. And I have it on good authority that they are well tested. Their chimney stacks are really well tested. So I am not having run workshops yet for school groups. We've run one with very basics, but I'm wondering about how legitimate it could be of people collecting the plastic, even in a bad made brick. Don't shoot me for asking this question. Even in a bad made brick, because it prevents the plastic from being blown away. We have very, very strong winds here. And you know, one wind blows it into the sea, the other wind blows it into the inland. So even if we had plastic put inside these bricks to stop them blown away, could that not then be sent to a place like the cement factory? I know it doesn't fall into the circular regenerative idea behind Ecobrick, but if the problem is plastic and the awareness from making Ecobricks is reducing our reliance on plastic, is that not a balance we could look at or a compromise we can look at? Or is the question not relevant because compromise is not what we're looking at?
Why don't we let Annie, do you want to try answering that, or Lucy? It's a great question.
Yeah. Well, here experiencing here with the communities. Oh, well, first of all, it's always again we say that Ecobrick is a personal journey. So it's indeed challenging when we're expecting people join our, our movement. So it's always like really personal approach and personal movement. And that is why we always say like make sure that just pay attention to your own plastic. Just mind your plastic, not even your neighbor or whatever. So that's really something that is key. We try to talk to people. And then after that is like when it comes to how to make eco bricks and how important the technique is actually, it's about raising awareness, because whenever we do a workshop, we always say at least 2 or 3 weeks before the workshop, make sure they keep a safe their plastic used and everything. And so when they're making ecobrick, when they come join ecobrick, they will bring their own plastic. And that is the first time we say it's like, wow, this is actually the first time I know how much plastic I use in 1 month. So because the problem is always whenever we use plastic and we put in a bin and it's gone. So EcoBreak is actually like kind of make us face our own consumption, right? And that's very simple, but when we do the workshop and really pay attention to this thing, it's actually about all raising awareness. And then when we make sure like people make the right eco bricks, we check one by one. Oh no, 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 has to be a little bit more. Okay, put this type of plastic. This is the way we do, and everything that they realize is like, oh yeah, this is easy, but it's also challenging. But this also comes to that, like, okay, so I don't want to make this forever. I want to reduce my plastic because I don't want to make eco brick all the time. So then they start really like thinking what they consume and what type of plastic, even if they have to use the plastic and things like that. So the I know, like here we really pay attention with the trainers, that all the trainers like pay attention to before the starter workshop and make sure that people join a starter workshop. So we never jump to making eco bricks. We always start with the presentation. And then this is like amazing because even like so many illiterate people like join because they are in a village and everything. When we explain, and it's like, oh wow, because it's the first time when they know about the dangers of the plastic that can be poison. And so I think in Indonesia, right, Russell, that we started like starter workshop is so important. It's not about how to make eco bricks, but why we are making eco bricks. And that's why we also very clear with whoever invited us, or we want to somehow introduce eco brick. It's like this is the method how we learn about eco brick. It's not just about packing plastic, but why we are making eco bricks. And we share the presentation and step by step guiding. And that's why in Indonesia for online starter workshop, we do it for 1 week, after that follow up. So then people really show, oh, this is my plastic. Can we put this in an eco brick? So through that type of practice and hands-on, that's actually bring the awareness. So I would say like really consciously design the plan to introduce making eco bricks. So it's not just let's make eco bricks, let's pack plastic, but it's really kind of methodically, because this is bring little by little and detail about that awareness that we are talking about. So then of course like very happy that, oh, like people happy that they save the plastic, but at the same time I don't want to make this all the time, and so I want to reduce my plastic. So this, I think that's the method of the starter workshop. We start with the presentation and then guiding really kind of, carefully each person, and then they will spread. And that's, I think, somehow even I'm like, wow, this is actually powerful. So it's maybe from Indonesia.
Can I jump in on the sending to the cement factory bit? So cement is actually really damaging material. Its production, causes a lot of damage within the world. But it is one of those materials that we're not going to move away from. And there's so many places in the world where it's a real necessity. But if you're sending the Ecobricks, a poorly made Ecobrick, to the cement factory to be burnt, it's still poisoning our atmosphere. It's not taking the plastic away from, and it's not going to, it's an easy option. It's not going to help people reduce their plastics. So, for example, here in the UK, our recycling industry is an absolute greenwash. It's lies from top to bottom. Our government legislates for the lies to be continued so that profits are made. And when most of our plastic ends up being incinerated. Only about 9% of the plastic used in the UK actually does get recycled. And when it does get recycled, there are issues with the forever chemicals actually being passed on through that system. So the more something is recycled, the more harmful it can be. There's a lot of research that people want to see done, but it is also getting squashed because the oil industry doesn't want that knowledge out there that this is compounding the issue of the plastic. But also because we send them to incinerators, and there's a lot of talk about how wonderful it is because it's creating green energy from our plastic, and we're turning it into energy. They forget that all the incinerators, and we've got over 90 now in the UK, they're all built in the poorest of communities because they're the people who are not going to be able to stand up and fight against the planning permissions that are given. And they don't know what to do with the ash that comes from the filters. So a chimney can be praised for how much it doesn't put out into the atmosphere, but it collects those chemicals, and all of that is still within our biosphere. Something still needs to happen with it. And I suspect you might find that if that's something you go, you can send your plastic to the cement factory and have it burnt safely, you're still going to have the ash problem of what happens to the ash that's caught, because that is compounded toxicity. And it still is giving people an easy route for their plastic. So here in the UK, nobody wants to, no, there is a growing movement, but we struggle because it's too easy. We just put our plastic in a bin and it just gets taken off to be burnt. And nothing about that helps people to learn and reduce their plastic. So it's all a minefield. There's no perfect answer. But if you give people an option like that, you'll find that they won't reduce their plastic consumption.
All right. Thank you, Lucy. We are at the end of our 90 minutes, guys, so we're going to wrap up. I would like just to add to answer Robin's question and all the issues that this raises, because there are a lot of issues. Now, that said, Paula, maybe you could share the link to our Signal chat, because we'll be able to continue this conversation and raise some of these issues in the Signal chat afterwards. Over the next week, we can talk about this stuff. However, the reason why we share the long story of plastic, the primordial Earth story of plastic, is that we can better understand the shame, the tragedy of taking this carbon that was sequestered over hundreds of millions of years by planet Earth to green our biosphere, and to simply burn it or incinerate it, to let that plastic's carbon out into the atmosphere, is a tragedy. Plastic, as the leftovers of the fuel refinement process, is the last part that is still compacted carbon, that we have this opportunity to do true ecological service with. By taking care of our plastic, we can do something that's truly green and set the example of how to manifest these earthen principles in our homes, in our gardens, the structures that we build, the great playgrounds we build, etc. So yeah, then this is the entry point that our plastic allows, is to get into these conversations and these discussions and find true deep green solutions. Okay. I did say one more question. So I see Franklin, did you have something to add, or Oris? Anyone want to take the last question before we wrap up? And again, while
This is
they're
not a
asking their
question.
question, sorry, Franklin, sorry, while they're asking their question, again, we're putting the link to the Signal group into the chat so you can join that. And also, I think, Annie, if you could put the link to the events, you can also follow. That event will be next week, and it's a chance to go really deep into this fundamental philosophy behind the eco-bricking movement. Okay, over to you, Franklin.
It's not actually a question, but I just like to share how Ecobrick, the impact of Ecobrick in my personal life. That the ecobricking changes minds and changes attitudes. Una, in the first place, it allow us to to see plastic in what it is. At first, it's not actually evil, but it's a gift. And by eco-bricking, you are now trying to renew that idea of it's a gift. In doing eco-bricking, you are allowing everyone to see that plastic is not evil, but a gift that can be unsurmountable the use of it in a positive way through the eco-bricking. And one thing also is that another thing also is that aside from the plastic sequestration, the process is good enough as a care for our Mother Earth, because we know already that when we throw it away, it goes and it destroyed our biosphere. So what eco-bricking do to me and to those who are really love eco-bricking is it changes our habit and our attitude towards plastic, that we are now fighting the very cause of our ecological problem, which is the throwaway culture. By eco-bricking, if you really put it in mind and heart, you are now fighting the root cause, because you are going to collect plastic for you to recycle it in whatever way. At first, regardless of how you recycle it, but eco-bricking should always, any recycled plastic starts always by gathering plastic. And with that, if we teach it to all people, then if all people just gather their own plastic, it's already a big impact to the regardless of whether they will do the eco-breaking or do another cycle, but it is a must for everybody to not to throw plastic away, but gather it. And I do it first at home, that every household must cooperate and gather their own, even starting with the single-use plastic, the dry and the clean and dry, even starting from it. By gathering it, every household, we are fighting the problem, which we don't know if in fact it will be solved, but we are making some part of the solution, because we are fighting the great cause, which is the throwaway. People are now gathering plastic through a book. If we continue the eco-breaking, that's what I see, and I think it will not be taken away from me.
Thank you, Franklin. What a great way to end this transition of seeing plastic from a problem to a resource to a gift. I love that, Franklin. Thank you for those words. So with that, I think we're going to wrap up the meeting. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you again to everyone in Namibia who helped make this event happen. And we look forward to seeing you on the Signal chat and seeing your Ecobricks.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you to all.
Yeah. Thanks,
See you,
everyone.
Mama, on the 29th.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Robin,
you.
hopefully we
Bye-bye.
can See you. I'm so happy to talk about like the spread, the methodology, how to spread, including the building part. So we
Yes,
chat
we will
more.
talk.
Yeah,
Thank
we
Yeah,
you.
we'll
chat
talk.
more. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
thanks
you.
everyone. Good night, good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, bye, Joe.